Look, guys, in school we were taught history. We were taught geography, algebra, and science too. But one thing that was perhaps the most important, we were never properly taught about it. And that thing was money. How to earn money, how to manage money, how to grow money, and most importantly, how to put money to work for you. Because the reality is that in this world, many people work their entire lives. They wake up in the morning, go to the office, receive their salary, pay their bills, and then the very same cycle starts again the next month. And slowly, without even realizing, a person gets trapped in a financial trap that becomes very hard to escape. Job, loans, taxes, credit cards, and never-ending expenses. These are not just words. Today, this has become the reality of millions of people. But the interesting thing is that rich people also live in the same world, and poor or middle-class people also live in the same world. Then what is the difference that makes some people financially free, while others struggle their entire lives? To deeply understand this difference, Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And when this book came to market, it completely changed the thinking of millions of people around the world. Now, the interesting thing here is that Robert Kiyosaki had two fathers. One was his real father, whom he calls Poor Dad, and the other his friend Mike's father, whom he calls Rich Dad. His real father was highly educated. He had a good degree, a stable job, a respectable life. But his financial struggles never ended. On the other hand, his rich dad was not as educated, but his understanding of money was very strong. He knew how money works, how wealth is built, and how financial freedom is achieved. And that is why his thinking was completely different. Poor Dad's philosophy was simple. Study well, get a good job, live a safe life. But Rich Dad's philosophy was something else. He used to say, "Don't work for money, put money to work for you." This line sounds simple, but if you deeply understand it, it can change your entire financial life. Now the question is, why do the majority of people struggle financially? The answer is very simple. Because from childhood, we were only taught earning, not wealth building. We were taught, get good grades, get a good job, take a salary, and stay safe. But nobody told us what investing is, what passive income is, what assets are, and how to multiply money. That is why even many intelligent people remain financially trapped. You yourself must have noticed many doctors, engineers, highly educated people earn high incomes, but still remain financially stressed because high income and wealth are two different things. If income is high, but expenses grow at the same speed, then a person can never become financially free. And this is where Rich Dad's first powerful lesson begins. Rich people never work for money. Let's understand this line deeply. Generally, people think, I will work harder, earn more money, and one day I will become rich. But the problem is that many people get stuck in this very process. The salary comes, then house loan, car EMI, bills, shopping, credit card payments, consume all the money, and then the person is forced to work again. Rich Dad calls this cycle the rat race. A race where a person just survives their entire life. And the most dangerous thing? Many people don't even realize that they are trapped in this. They think bigger salary equals success. Bigger house equals success. Expensive lifestyle equals success. But inside, they keep getting financially weaker because their liabilities are continuously growing. And that is why Rich Dad says, poor and middle-class people work for money. Rich people make money work for them. Now the question is, what exactly do rich people do differently? They build assets. That is, things that keep putting money in their pocket, like businesses, investments, rental income, stocks, royalties, digital assets. These things generate income for them over time. That is why rich people don't depend only on active income. They have multiple income streams. This is the actual game. Because if you depend only on your salary, then technically you have only one income source. And if that source stops, financial pressure will instantly begin. That is why financially smart people don't keep their focus only on earning, but on building assets. Now here comes another interesting thing. Fear. Fear plays a very big role in financial life. People are afraid of taking risks, investing, starting a business, failure, and what people will say. Because of this fear, many people choose to play it safe their entire lives. But the reality is that playing it safe is sometimes the riskiest decision, because the world is continuously changing. Jobs are changing, technology is changing, markets are changing, and if a person doesn't grow financially, then inflation will slowly consume his buying power. That is why Rich Dad continuously focuses on financial education. He says, financial intelligence is more important than simply earning money, because earning money is one skill, but managing money, growing money, and protecting money are completely different skills. The majority of people fail right here, because as soon as income grows, lifestyle also starts growing. New phone, better car, expensive clothes, luxury lifestyle, and slowly the person comes back to the same financial pressure. Just this time the numbers are bigger. That is why many high-income earners are also financially stressed, because the problem is not income. The problem is money habits. And now here Rich Dad introduces another powerful concept, the difference between assets and liabilities. Understanding this concept can completely change your financial life, because the majority of people keep buying liabilities thinking they are assets, and then keep paying for them their entire lives. So what exactly are assets? What are liabilities? And how do rich people use both of them differently? We will break all of this down in detail ahead. Now look guys, this is where the most important concept of the book begins. Assets and liabilities. If a person properly understands even just this one concept, their entire financial thinking can change. Because a majority of people live their entire lives in a very big misunderstanding. They think that buying expensive things, buying a big house, maintaining a luxury lifestyle means becoming rich. But according to Rich Dad, the reality is something else. He says, an asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. This line sounds simple, but the entire financial game is hidden inside it. Let's understand it with a simple example. Imagine you get 20 Indian rupees lakh. Now you have two options. Either you buy an expensive car, or you put that money into something that generates income in the future. Now, naturally, what will most people choose? The car, because people will be impressed. You get social status. There is temporary excitement. But the problem is that the car doesn't put money in your pocket. On the contrary, fuel, maintenance, insurance, depreciation keep taking money out of your pocket every month. So, technically, it is a liability. But if you use that same money to buy a rental property, or start a business that generates cash flow, then it becomes an asset, because it is creating money for you. This is the difference that completely separates the rich mindset from the poor mindset. Middle-class people generally buy liabilities and think of them as assets. Rich people first build assets, then afford luxuries from the returns of those assets. And that is why rich people keep getting richer over time. Now here comes another dangerous thing. Lifestyle inflation. That is, as soon as income grows, expenses also start growing. Salary increased, then bigger house, better car, expensive vacations, branded lifestyle. Everything starts getting upgraded, and then the person comes back to the same pressure again. That is why many people can't become financially free despite a high salary, because all their money is going into liabilities. Now, here it is very important to understand something interesting. Poor people have no assets. Middle-class people mistake liabilities for assets, and rich people aggressively build assets. This is the entire game. And after understanding this, you start seeing the world from a different perspective, because then you look at everything with just one question. Is this thing making money for me or eating my money? And this question completely changes financial decisions. Now, many people get confused here. They say, so is buying a house wrong? No, the book doesn't say that. The book is only explaining that Financially smart people first build strong assets. Because if your financial foundation is weak and you take on expensive liabilities, then financial pressure slowly reaches a dangerous level. And then the person is forced to work more, stay stuck to the job, and avoid risk because their expenses are continuously controlling them. That is why Rich Dad says, money without financial intelligence is money soon gone. That is, if a person doesn't have financial understanding, then more money also doesn't solve their problems. On the contrary, sometimes problems increase even more. Now, here comes another interesting thing. From childhood, we are taught to save, and obviously saving is important. But only saving doesn't create wealth, because inflation continuously destroys the value of money. What costs 100 Indian rupees today may cost much more in the future. That is why rich people don't just save money. They invest that money, so that money generates more money. This is the point that the majority of people miss. They remain stuck their entire lives in just the earning, spending, saving cycle, but they don't take investing, asset building, and passive income seriously. And that is why they can't become financially free. Now here comes another powerful concept. Cash flow. Rich people don't just look at income. They look at cash flow. That is, how much money their assets are generating for them every month. Because ultimately financial freedom doesn't mean just having more money. It means building systems that continuously create income for you. This is the stage where a person slowly starts coming out of money stress, because then their survival doesn't depend on just one salary. Now, naturally, the question comes, how do we start all this? And this is where the book deeply explains the importance of financial education. Because the problem is not that people are not hardworking. The problem is that the majority of people were never properly taught the rules of money. And that is why the next lesson is very powerful. Because now Rich Dad explains what financial education actually is and why school systems don't properly teach us about money. Now look, guys, here the book tells a very uncomfortable truth. School teaches us good grades, discipline, exams, and getting a job, but school doesn't teach us how money works, what investing is, how taxes work, how businesses are built, and how wealth is actually created. That is why even many intelligent people struggle financially, because a degree and financial intelligence are two completely different things. You yourself must have noticed many highly educated people work good jobs, earn high salaries, maintain respectable lifestyles, but still are stuck in loans, remain stressed, live paycheck to paycheck, because they were never properly taught to manage money. And this is Rich Dad's next major lesson. Financial education is more powerful than simply earning money. Let's understand this deeply. Imagine there are two people. Both are earning 1 Indian rupee lakh per month. The first person spends all the money on expenses, buys liabilities, avoids investing, and depends only on their salary. The second person invests a portion of income in assets, builds cash flow, and continuously improves their financial knowledge. Now, naturally, what will happen over time? Despite both having the same income, both their futures will be completely different, because financial freedom is less related to income and more related to money habits and financial intelligence. This is the point that the majority of people miss. They think, if more money just comes in, life will be set. But in reality, if habits remain the same, then even after income increases, problems keep repeating. That is why Rich Dad continuously focuses on learning. He says, money without knowledge doesn't last long. And this is very clearly visible in real life. How many people go broke even after winning the lottery, go bankrupt despite sudden fame, or remain financially unstable despite high income? Reason? Lack of financial education. Because earning money and handling money are two different skills. That is why rich people continuously keep learning. They read books, observe markets, understand investments, and keep learning about new opportunities, because they know knowledge can create money in the future. Now here comes another important thing. Skills. Rich Dad says, having multiple skills is very important for success in the future. Just one degree or one job skill is not enough. That is why financially smart people continuously improve skills like communication, sales, negotiation, leadership, marketing, investing. The point about sales is very powerful because many talented people can't grow financially simply because they don't know how to present their value. Robert gives an example in the book. There was a journalist who wrote very well, but she wasn't able to become a successful writer. Robert advised her to learn sales, but she got offended because she thought, I am highly educated. Why do I need to learn sales? This ego stops the growth of many people because in this world, talent alone is not enough. You also need to communicate your value, identify opportunities, and understand the market. That is why Rich Dad says, work to learn, not just to earn. This line is very powerful because the majority of people work only for a salary, but people with a rich mindset also work for skills and experience. They try to learn something from every situation. This is what creates long-term growth. Now here comes another dangerous thing. Comfort zone. Many people can't grow financially because they want to stay comfortable. They avoid risk, avoid new skills, avoid change. But the reality is that growth is almost always outside the comfort zone. That is why rich people never stop learning, because the world is continuously evolving. What skill is valuable today may not be as valuable in the future. That is why financially strong people are adaptable. They learn quickly, adjust quickly, and identify opportunities fast. This is the actual advantage. Now, naturally, the question comes, if financial education is so important, then why do the majority of people not grow financially? And this is where the book discusses the next powerful topic: fear. Fear of losing money, fear of failure, fear of criticism, and how these fears keep millions of people financially stuck. We will break all of that down now. Now, look, guys, here the book explains a very important thing. The majority of people don't become financially successful, not because they don't have opportunities, but because they don't take action due to fear. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions in the world. Fear stops a person, confuses them, and sometimes keeps them stuck their entire life. The most common fear is the fear of losing money. People think, what if the investment goes into a loss? What if the business fails? What if people criticize me? What if everything goes wrong? And slowly the person gets trapped in overthinking. They keep planning, keep researching, keep watching videos, but don't take actual action. This is the most dangerous thing, because in this world many people fail, not because of lack of knowledge, but because of lack of action. That is why Rich Dad says, fear is normal, but staying controlled by fear is dangerous. The interesting thing is that rich people also feel fear. They are not robots. They also have fear of losses, fear of uncertainty, fear of failure. But the difference is they take action despite the fear. The poor mindset stops because of fear. The rich mindset keeps moving even with fear. This is what creates the entire difference. Because if a person always waits for the perfect timing, they will never start. And the reality is that perfect timing almost never comes. That is why successful people take imperfect action, make mistakes, learn, and keep improving. Now, here the book discusses another powerful obstacle: self-doubt. This is a very dangerous thing because many talented people don't become successful simply because they don't believe in themselves. They see opportunities, but instantly thoughts come to their mind. I can't do this. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have money. This is not my level. And slowly they stop themselves. That is why Rich Dad says, confidence comes from doing, not from waiting. This line is very deep because confidence is built through action, not just by watching motivational videos. When a person takes small risks, achieves small wins, and gains practical experience, naturally their confidence starts building. Many average people in this world become successful simply because of confidence and action, while many intelligent people remain stuck in overthinking. Now here comes another dangerous obstacle: laziness. The interesting thing is that laziness is not always obvious. Sometimes a person is physically busy, but financially lazy. That is, not learning new skills, avoiding investing, avoiding financial planning, and postponing difficult decisions. And slowly years pass. That is why Rich Dad says, busy people can still be financially lazy. This is a reality. Many people stay busy all day, but don't take time to improve their future financial life. Now, here comes another dangerous thing: bad habits. Because habits ultimately create the future. If a person's habits are impulsive spending, emotional shopping, unnecessary lifestyle upgrades, and chasing instant pleasure, then naturally financial problems will keep repeating. That is why Rich Dad teaches a very powerful habit: pay yourself first. That is, as soon as a salary comes, first separate money for investing, savings, asset building, then handle the remaining expenses. But the majority of people do the opposite. They spend money on bills, shopping, entertainment, unnecessary expenses, and then try to save whatever is left. And obviously, usually nothing is left. That is why financially smart people first build the future, then lifestyle. This is what creates the long-term difference. Now, here the book discusses another dangerous obstacle: ego. Ego silently destroys growth because many people don't ask questions, avoid learning, and pretend they already know everything. But in reality, ignorance plus ego equals a dangerous combination. People with a rich mindset are not ashamed of learning. If they don't know something, they learn it because they know one skill can create millions in value in the future. This is why rich people continuously keep evolving. Now, naturally, another question comes: how exactly do rich people practically build wealth? How does their money system actually work? And this is where the book discusses the next powerful topic: businesses, investing, and passive income systems. This is the point where the actual financial freedom game begins. Now, look, guys, this is where the book starts explaining the actual wealth building system. Because rich people don't just earn money, they build systems. And this is what makes them completely different from average people. The money cycle of the majority of people looks something like this: work, get a salary, pay bills, enjoy a little, then repeat the same cycle next month. And slowly an entire life passes. But people with a rich mindset follow a different formula: earn, invest, reinvest, and grow assets. This is the actual power of compounding. Now, here many people make a dangerous mistake. As soon as they get a little money, they instantly start upgrading their lifestyle. New phone, better car, expensive clothes, luxury trips, and social media has made this problem even more dangerous. Because now people focus more on looking wealthy than on building wealth. This is the middle class trap. Rich people buy assets first. Average people buy status first. And this difference completely changes the long-term future. Now, here it is very important to understand one thing: compounding. This is one of the most powerful financial forces in the world. To understand it simply, if you invest money and reinvest a return from that investment, then over time growth starts increasing exponentially. That is, money starts making more money. Rich people deeply understand the system. That is why they have patience, think long-term, and don't panic quickly, because they know wealth is not built overnight. It is a result of years of smart decisions. Now, here comes another important difference. The poor mindset chooses immediate pleasure. The rich mindset chooses delayed gratification. That is, rich people sacrifice short-term excitement so that they can get bigger freedom in the future. This is a very difficult thing, because naturally the human mind is attracted towards instant pleasure. But financially successful people control their emotions, maintain discipline, and prioritize the future. That is why Rich Dad says, financial freedom is built by habits, not by luck. This line is very powerful because many people keep waiting for luck, but rich people build systems. Now, here the book also explains a business mindset. Because rich people don't depend only on a salary. They focus on things like side businesses, investments, digital income, ownership, because ownership creates long-term wealth. This is why businesses are very powerful wealth-building tools in the world. Now here comes an interesting example. McDonald's. The majority of people think McDonald's is in the burger business, but in reality, it is also in the real estate business. Because whenever a McDonald's franchise opens, a system of land and property is also involved. That is, smart businesses generate money in multiple ways. This is the rich mindset. They don't depend on just one income source. Now, naturally, the question comes, so is having a job wrong? No, the book doesn't hate jobs. The book only explains that depending only on a salary can be risky. That is why financially smart people, alongside their job, keep building investing, side income, skills, and assets, because ultimately the goal is that one day your money can cover your monthly expenses. This is actual financial freedom, not just an expensive lifestyle. Now here the book discusses another dangerous thing, quick money traps. In today's time, this problem has become even more dangerous because on social media, every other person is selling overnight success, quick money, instant wealth. But the reality? Wealth usually builds slowly, and people who are in a rush to get rich quickly often get trapped in scams, a gambling mindset, emotional investing, and risky decisions. That is why financially smart people have patience, do research, and build sustainable systems, because they know slow wealth is stable wealth. This is a long-term game. Now here comes another interesting thing, taxes. And this is where rich people understand the system differently from average people, because financially educated people don't just earn money, they also protect it. And we will break this down in detail in the next part. Now, look guys, here the book discusses a very interesting and controversial topic, taxes. The majority of people never properly understand how the money system actually works. Now, normally a salaried person system looks something like this. First, the salary comes. Then the government cuts taxes, and with the money that remains, the person pays bills, handles expenses, and maintains their lifestyle. So technically, a large portion of the salary is gone right at the start. But rich people use the system differently. This is the actual power of financial education. Rich people understand money systems better. Now, here the book is not teaching anything illegal. The book only explains that financially educated people better understand laws and systems. That is why they intelligently use businesses, corporations, investments, and tax structures. This is why rich people can grow their money faster. Now, here comes a very important concept, the difference between employees and business owners. An employee first pays tax, then manages expenses, but businesses first adjust expenses, then taxes are calculated on the remaining income. And this difference becomes very powerful in the long term. That is why many financially smart people eventually build businesses, side hustles, investments, or ownership systems, because ownership creates financial flexibility. This is the point that the majority of people ignore. They spend their entire lives focusing only on salary increases, promotions, and a stable job. But financially strong people build cash flow and systems. Now, here it is very important to understand another thing. Financial freedom doesn't mean a person doesn't work at all. Rather, financial freedom means choice. That is, you are not working out of compulsion. You work because of choice. This is the actual luxury, time freedom. Because ultimately the most valuable thing in the world is not money. It is time. And people with a rich mindset gradually build systems that can buy back their time. That is why Rich Dad continuously explains the importance of passive income. Because if you are sleeping, traveling, or not even actively working, and income is still coming in, then you gradually start coming out of financial dependence. This is a stage where a person also feels more mentally free. Now, here many people make another dangerous mistake. They only look at income, not net worth. That is, how much you are earning and how much you are actually keeping are two different things. Because if a person is earning 5 Indian rupees lakh per month, but is stuck in heavy loans, expensive liabilities, and uncontrolled expenses, then they are not as financially strong as people think. And on the other hand, if a person is building strong assets despite moderate income, then in the long term they can be more financially secure. This long-term thinking is what makes the rich mindset powerful. Now, here the book discusses another important point. Start small, because many people don't start investing or wealth building because they think, I don't have enough money. But the reality? Wealth almost always starts with small steps. Rich Dad says, it's not important at what big level you are starting. What's important is whether you are starting or not. This is very powerful advice because many people keep waiting for the perfect timing. When I have a higher salary, I'll start. When the market is better, I'll invest. When life is stable, I'll start a business. And slowly years pass. That is why financially smart people take small, consistent actions, because they know time plus consistency equals wealth growth. This is the real secret of compounding. Now here comes another powerful truth. The majority of people don't become financially free because they focus only on earning. But people with a rich mindset focus on all 4 things: earning, investing, protecting, and multiplying money. This is a complete financial game. Now, naturally, a final question comes. What does financial freedom actually feel like? And why do rich people see the world through a different lens mentally? And this has been deeply explained in the final lessons of the book, which we will break down in the next part. Mindset. Because in this world, many people have money, but they are still stressed. And on the other hand, some people are financially stable and feel very mentally peaceful. Reason? Money mindset. Rich Dad says, poor mindset and rich mindset see the world from completely different perspectives. Poor mindset focuses on problems. Rich mindset focuses on opportunities. Poor mindset says, I can't afford this. Rich mindset asks, how can I afford this? This seems like a small difference, but in the long term it changes the entire direction of life. Because questions are what shape a person's thinking. If a person constantly focuses on fear, excuses, and limitations, then naturally their brain will stop seeing opportunities. But if a person focuses on possibilities and solutions, then slowly their thinking starts to expand. This is a foundation of the rich mindset. Now here comes another dangerous thing: comparison. And social media has made this problem even more dangerous, because today everyone is showing luxury lifestyles, expensive cars, vacations, flashy success, and naturally people feel, I've been left behind. But many times the people who look rich are actually not financially strong, because wealth and appearance are two different things. Rich Dad says, real wealth is what you don't see. That is, investments, ownership, assets, cash flow, and financial security. This is actual wealth, not just an expensive lifestyle. This is why many rich people surprisingly maintain simple lifestyles, because their focus is on freedom, not on impression. Now here the book discusses another very important thing: patience, because the majority of people want instant results, instant money, instant success, instant lifestyle. But the reality? Wealth usually grows slowly. Just like a tree, you plant a seed, give it time, take care of it, and gradually it grows. Wealth also builds in almost the same way. That is why financially smart people avoid emotional decisions, avoid panic, and maintain consistency, because they know short-term emotions can create long-term damage. This is why psychology is very important in investing, because more dangerous than the market is human emotions: fear, greed, impatience, and comparison. These things force people to make wrong financial decisions. That is why Rich Dad continuously explains the importance of emotional control, Because financially strong people don't just control money, they also control their emotions. Now, here comes another very powerful lesson. Taking responsibility. Because poor mindset generally blames the economy, the government, the market, family background, or circumstances. But rich mindset takes responsibility. It thinks, whatever the situation is, how can I improve my life? This is the starting point of growth. Because as long as a person keeps blaming, they will never feel in control. But as soon as a person starts taking responsibility, their mindset starts to change. Financial growth almost always starts with a mindset shift. Now, here the book explains another powerful truth. Freedom. Because ultimately, rich people don't build money just for money's sake. They build money for freedom. Freedom to live life on their own terms, to make choices, to reduce stress, and to control their own time. This is actual success, not just social media validation. That is why financially smart people gradually reduce liabilities, grow assets, and build systems that can give them more freedom in the future. This is the core message of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that financial freedom doesn't come from luck. It is built from financial education, discipline, patience, smart decisions, and long-term thinking. And this is why this book is considered one of the most life-changing financial books in the world. In the next and final part, we will quickly connect all the most important lessons from this entire book and understand how an average person can start improving their financial life from today. So look, guys, if we were to summarize all of Rich Dad, Poor Dad in one line, its core message is basically this. Poor people work for money. Rich people build systems that make money work for them. This is not just a motivational line. This is a complete mindset shift, because the majority of people spend their entire lives trapped in the cycle of salary, bills, loans, and expenses, and without realizing it, their entire life passes in survival mode. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad gives us a different perspective. It teaches us that financial freedom is not just a result of hard work. Rather, it is the result of financial education, smart habits, investing, patience, and long-term thinking. Now, the most important question here is not what was written in the book. The real question is, what are you going to apply in your actual life? Because knowledge without action is almost useless. If a person just keeps watching videos, keeps reading books, keeps getting motivation, but doesn't take practical steps, then their life eventually remains the same. That is why Rich Dad continuously explains the importance of action. Now, naturally, the question comes, how do we start from today? Starting is not complicated. Starting begins with awareness. First, honestly look at your financial situation. How much are you earning? How much are you spending? How much are you investing? And how much money are liabilities eating up? Because the majority of people never properly analyze their actual financial reality. And awareness is the first step. After that, gradually, reduce unnecessary expenses, control impulsive spending, and start building assets, even if it's from a small level. Because remember, wealth is almost always built from small, consistent decisions, not from overnight success. This is the real magic of compounding. One smart financial decision today can create a very big impact in the future. That is why financially smart people start early, maintain consistency, and continuously keep learning, because they know time is more powerful than the market. Now, here it is very important to understand another thing. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not just a book about money. It is actually a book about thinking. Because if a person's thinking remains the same, then even after income increases, financial problems keep repeating. But if the mindset improves, then gradually the person starts making better decisions, identifies opportunities, and keeps becoming financially stronger in the long term. This is actual transformation, not just a flashy lifestyle. Now look, ultimately the goal of life should not be just to make more money. The goal should be freedom, peace of mind, and control over your time. Because when a person lives only under pressure of money, slowly stress starts controlling their entire life. But When a person starts becoming financially aware, their choices gradually improve. This is the actual power of financial education. Now, if you learned even one valuable lesson from this summary, then don't just listen and move on. Try to build one small investment habit, learn one useful skill, and gradually improve your financial thinking. Because the future doesn't change in one day. It changes through daily decisions. And if you want to see deep audiobook-style summaries of such powerful books, where we break down psychology, money, self-growth, and life-changing ideas in a simple and practical way, then make sure to subscribe to Mind Orbit, because here we don't just discuss motivation, we discuss real mindset shifts. Thanks for listening. Take care, and I'll see you in the next summary.